Hi, I'm Sherlyn James with Women's Council Realtors West Michigan, the 2023 president. And here we have Jonathan Arnold and Katrina Cole with Guild Mortgage, our 2023 Diamond sponsors. Thank you guys for joining me here today.
Absolutely.
Can you guys tell me about your leadership journey?
So we started as a very small collaboration. Stephanie Wood and I had teamed up at a prior company and had an opportunity to open a branch of our former company, Inland Mortgage. And shortly thereafter, Katrina joined forces with us, and that's when the plans and all of the effort started to start to help us grow as a company. So we incubated in a little 600 square foot office.
Very small.
And then
We're cozy.
Yes.
And it was kind of a fun little story. We ended up paying our neighbor directly in a suite next to us to move across the street.
So
Arguably to a better space, but it wasn't big
Yes.
enough for us.
Uh-huh.
So we paid the difference so that we could take over that suite, and then eventually we bought this building.
Another 600 square feet.
Yeah, it was 1,200, and
Yeah.
now we've got room, and we're actually kind of getting full now, but it's been a work in effort, or been a work in progress. I think we're closing in on 10 years.
9. This year's 9.
This is 9
In like weeks.
in weeks. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, it's exciting.
Yes. So what makes you different from other lenders? What is your guys' process?
So I used to say that the process was the sale, meaning that how we did business was why people do business with us. Quick closings, say what you're going to do what you're going to say, no surprises, good communication, good information and education and all of that. And then our business kind of rotated when we all joined forces, and we realized that we were doing something different. Actually, it was my wife is in pharmaceutical sales, and
Okay.
she works for one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world. And so they have a little budget for sales training and whatnot, and they're calling on doctors and really sophisticated, smart individuals. And their sales platform that they use is all about challenging what people know or what they think they know, and doing it in a way that is collaborative as opposed to a tell. And so probably 30 to 40% of our conversations are actually focused on challenging what our clients think, how they understand things, how they understand the market, how they understand the approach to the buying process, the approach to setting up financing. One of the first things that we usually ask for permission to do is unpack some of the rigidity that a lot of people start the process with. I'm going to do this for sure. Well, is it okay if we kind of explain our platform? The way that we explain it to clients is, if the information that we want to share with them touches the decision-making process, is it okay for us to explain it to you? Because we just want our clients to fundamentally be more informed and to be able to have the opportunity to make the best choice possible. In this competitive market, it's like critical.
Right.
And so the first things that you come into is that this idea of rigidity as it relates to loan structure, in our contrasting idea to that is, there's so much involved with the condition of the home and the property that they find as it relates to the financing setup, that how can you determine how you're going to structure your financing until you found the house? So a lot of our conversations are if this, then that.
Yes.
If that, then this. If you find a Chip and Joanne house that doesn't need any work to it, okay, most likely it's going to be the highest end of your budget. So now let's structure most money down to get the payment as low as possible. However, if you find what we like to call the Brady Bunch house that has shag carpeting that you could lose a small child in,
Wallpaper.
then how about we look at structuring the lowest down payment option so that you can put the most money into the updates and improvements in the property.
Right.
So a lot of our conversations are centered on making sure that our clients have all of the information that is possibly pertinent to making them like the most strategic buyers out in the marketplace today. And it's not easy. You know, we are passed along information from our parents and from our grandparents, from what we read, from what we hear, from what our coworkers are doing.
So you're challenging their own money mindset.
100%.
It's very mindset. It's how do you make it very fluid and have them, at least in their back of their mind, hearing like, oh wait, John told me that I can buy this house and put less down and we can fix this problem.
Yeah.
We can do the kitchen. We could, do these other things. And a lot of times, they'll even tell him, well, no, okay, that's great. We're still going to go this route. And then they find that house that they have no opportunity to buy. Normally, if they just looked at it, they'd be like, oh, I got to go. Like, this is ugly. It's bad. Oh, wait, I can put less money down, take all of my money and make it the way I want to. And maybe everything else about the property makes it more perfect for them than that brand new perfect house.
I love how you guys are staying in your process of just getting someone pre-approved. You're challenging them and through grit and perseverance and growth mindset. How has that changed your business from when you started using that platform?
Well, there's virtually no sale. The only sale that we are really, that people that we are selling are the listing agents to convince that our buyers are the best amongst the pile of offers that they're looking through.
Right.
And, part of our process is actually doing our due diligence on the front end. And so truly, I mean, we have income, asset, credit documents and local appraisers as opposed to management company appraisers. So all of these things that really do give them a strategic advantage. But the change is that when we hear the words, I'd never thought about it that way, or what do you think we should do? We know that our conversation is going how we intended it to go. And so how many times a day, and I don't even care if we get the deal. We have so many peer relationships across this market. Peer meaning I have, at every single bank or credit union, we know the best of the best, and these are my friends. And so, there's occasionally times where maybe there's a product that makes more sense that we don't even have in-house, and I'm quick to explain that to the client, and if the opportunity presents itself and it makes more sense for them to go that route, to securely get their information over with their permission to that person so that nobody skips a beat. But what's happened is we end up being the people that they come to first. So if they're thinking about, if their mom or their dad is downsizing, they're trying to figure it out, and there's an estate involved or multiple kids involved, they come to us first. If they're an attorney and they've got a client in a complex situation, they come to us first. If it's a financial planner with a highly sophisticated, complex client that has multiple accounts with multiple financial planners and a lot of moving parts, they'll come to us first. So every day, we get to see all kinds of different scenarios, but at the end of the day, all we're doing is putting out this advice, and we're just putting out this energy, which again, it's not easy. Because the easy road is just to do what they, what they had in mind initially. But by the time we're done, we're usually like an hour 15 minutes into a consultation. And a lot of times what was the initial direction is completely different, a completely different trajectory. The only house that they were really looking at was a Chip and Joanne house. And then they chat with us. Their price point is higher because they have a different take on where our market's going than what they did when they came in, because we challenged that. So they have a higher price point, and now they understand how PMI actually works and how they can use it to their advantage. And now they're open to that Brady Bunch house or the Chip and Joanne house in a potentially higher price point. And so now the theory that we teach, which is, if you're shopping in a price point and you only can find one house,
Right.
and it's a flash in the pan when it actually hits the
Gone.
market,
Yeah.
maybe you're in the wrong price point.
Uh-huh.
Because if we can get you into a price point that you can afford, but at any given time there's 3 or 4 or 5 houses, the probabilities that you're not going to compromise so much that ultimately you're going to grow out of that house are so much better, right? And so we explain that theory to them. And so a lot of times the change is people's life trajectories fundamentally are different than what they were prior to them talking to us. And it warms our hearts. Like, this is why we do it.
Yeah.
It changes their whole mindset, but it also makes them confident.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what's really cool is to see these people moving forward and they're so confident. They can make these decisions and they're thinking it through, and then hopefully they're going to just continue to share all of that information that they've learned with their family and their friends and their kids, and then we end up with so many more people with a little bit different mindsets. We're not stuck in the 20% down and you have to pay your mortgage off as fast as possible. We're not stuck in our parents
Right.
thought processes.
It's the symptoms. The symptoms are really the tell on whether or not somebody has had somebody willing to challenge all of these thought processes. Because the symptoms would be like, okay, I'm on my 7th offer in this market. That could be a symptom of a misunderstanding of the market. That could be a symptom of somebody that hasn't been challenged as it relates to their understanding of the different levers that we use to help offers be competitive, like an appraisal gap or an escalation clause. It could be a symptom of them shopping in the wrong price point. It could be a symptom of them never being challenged in terms of how to understand to use the assets that they actually have. So these are the symptoms are, people that are stuck or people that are just not getting the results that they want. And, usually behind that, once we start digging and once we start pressing and once we start asking questions, then it's like, oh, okay, so you think that this market is on its way down. It can't get any higher, right? And we tell the same stale joke, like, our crystal ball broke 21 years ago.
Yeah.
We have no idea, right?
No idea.
All we know is what we see and what the evidence around us shows us. And all we can do is compare that to other markets and what we're physically experiencing. And so, here in West Michigan, our hot take on this market is that we've been kind of like a Nashville in the making.
Yes.
And that, pretty soon, when we ask a client if they can still get same day dinner reservations at their favorite restaurants, it's like, well, not so much anymore.
No.
And does it still take you 15 minutes to get exactly where you want to go?
No.
Nope. It's gonna, can you imagine there not being cranes downtown Grand Rapids 10 years from now? No. And so, like, the writing's been on the wall for years here, and that's one of the biggest things is, a client that has a pessimistic view on our real estate market could totally change their behavior as it relates to how they approach, trying to buy their next house.
Honestly, it sounds like you guys would make it easier for the realtor, because the things that you're talking about and doing is what I strive to do in the buyer consultation, and challenge them to look at not just these 2 houses, but open your mindset to look at this one too, just so we can compare and start challenging those mindsets. So you guys are really collaborating.
It's a partnership. That's the biggest thing. And John loves to have these conversations with our realtor partners, because we want every realtor that we're working with to know exactly what is their client going through, what does that process look like, and that's what allows us then to work together. We're both saying the same things. Your clients are hearing it from you, they're hearing it from us, and it's just like this beautiful partnership.
And whether it's us or whether it's somebody else, I will challenge any agent that, how can you truly be operating to your highest potential if the client hasn't had a lender, whether it's us or somebody else, also challenge because you might be challenged their thinking on, the things that you touch, which we both, touch on what the market's doing. You're not going to probably be digging into their assets and stuff, but even on the market side of things, if there's not a second person that they trust that's saying the same thing, sometimes it's not enough for them to truly have a rounded out understanding of what's actually happening out there. When they hear from us that every single week we have clients calling us to buy houses in West Michigan purely off of speculation that have no ties to the market, zero. Yeah. And they've done their research, and this is the spot that they feel like they have the highest upside for their real estate investment. When clients hear that, they start to feel lucky that, oh, by the way, they're buying their next house, and they're buying in a market where people are speculating that the values are going to increase, and their dividend is that they get to live in it. And so these are the things that we're excited to talk about, because it really does. It changes their thinking, and once that thinking is changed, they're like totally primed for success, and that's what we're all about. So,
okay, personally, for you guys, what is the most important thing to you in how you serve your people, and how does that affect your life? So and how do you balance like work and family?
So, I mean, I am kind of, the closer that I am to who I am in both capacities, the better I feel. So with my relationships with, my coworkers and the people that I get to show up every day, and I say get because it is a privilege to show up at this office every day. Our relationships are, that of, friendship and respect and, support. And that's very similar to, how we act at the house with the kids and with my wife and with our animals. We've got an office loaded up with animals here, just like we got a house at my place loaded up with animals there. So there's all of these parallels. I think the biggest thing that I personally strive for is just that growth, is just pushing people to just think outside of, what they've been accustomed to thinking inside of, and to just challenge them to get outside of those comfort zones and to draw outside of the lines, because that's really where the change happens, and that's where the transformation happens. So.
Yeah, for me, I would say, very similar. It's amazing to be able to always just be yourself. I feel like sometimes in this real estate environment, mortgage, all of it, sometimes you have people who are one way at home, and then they go to work, and then they feel like they have to act a certain way, and then they go to another event, and they have like these adjustments they make to their personalities, and it's not all real, and it's not themselves. And so to me, it's always about being very authentic, being real. I can, leave the house, come here, go to meetings, like we all consistently, this is just really who we are. And we have a passion for people. We have a passion for the growth. I always, my biggest thing is the opportunity, making sure that people realize the opportunities that are in front of them. And I'm lucky enough that I get to work with, my main focus is working with everyone on the team, working with our partners. How does everybody grow together? And how are those opportunities realized? And getting them to where maybe they don't even realize they could be, and kind of pushing them outside of those boundaries. So to me, that's the biggest thing, is just being able to be very authentic and real, and nobody has to put on any masks or fake anything.
I love that. I love the authenticity that comes through, even talking to you guys, because I felt like I got to know you guys both more through this conversation. Okay, so Women's Council of Realtors' core values are professional credibility, the power of collaboration, leadership, influence, and opportunity. How do those core values correlate with your business?
I think that they all kind of touch on what we have going on over here. Leadership isn't easy.
No,
it's hard, and so I think it's thrown out there a lot of times. Just you want to be a good leader. Well, wanting to be a good leader and being a good leader means that you're doing the tough stuff. You're having the gritty conversations that you have anxiety in the pit of your stomach before you get into that meeting, that you're staying late, maybe barely making your son, getting there at the whistle of your son's lacrosse game. But it's kind of like what comes out of that is the fulfilling thing. And so
the fruit.
The growth, right?
Yeah.
And so it's one thing to do it personally, but it's another even more gratifying thing to see, Katrina specifically in the various leadership roles that she's, regularly challenging herself to be in, and learning and watching, how her leadership style is, it's just contrastingly different than mine, but still, I'm picking up things that you bring to the table. And now that we're kind of doing we're on some boards together. So it's kind of like I'm getting to learn.
It's a fun experience because it's outside of even just our office. So we get to see it kind of in a different light. And I mean, with leadership, it's always important. I mean, people want to be leaders, but I feel like some people are dragging, their people behind them and forcing them to come along the way. Whereas, I think one of the things that we're really lucky is our people follow us.
You inspire them to follow.
Yes, they're not being pulled along and forced along. They want to do it, and I mean, it's exciting to see. I mean, some of our people wanting to do more and step outside of even their comfort zones and do that. And I completely agree. Though all of the Women's Council values really kind of hit us pretty hard. Everything we do every single day. I also love influence. I feel like we have a lot of influence, and mostly with our clients, how we're challenging their mindset, how we're getting them to think a different way, even opening up, our partners' mindsets and influencing people just by getting that information out there and having people share it. Yeah. Not something that we need the pat on the back for, that we gave it to them, but just knowing it's out there and living. What
about you? This year you are serving as our 2023 parliamentarian.
Yes, finally a job I have not done before with Women's Council.
Yeah, because I'm so glad I get to, we had these Friday morning coffee dates at 8 a.m. at Hall Street Bakery, and I'd be like, hi, can you please explain to me this, and this? And then it's an hour and a half later, it's just like, we didn't get through half of it. And I was like, oh, wow. Yeah. But it's really, I felt like I took a Women's Council of Realtors West Michigan course of the back end, and this is how it works, and just the history and stuff. So thank you so much for that. So by you being our parliamentarian, you are at the board meetings, and you're able to interject and say, hey, is this the right way this is supposed to be done? Is this the standing rules? Is this in the bylaws? This is the history behind that, because we need that.
Right, and hey, we're past time, let's go.
Yes, that too. So how are you enjoying it? Or not?
I love that role because it really, I've been in some form or another on the board for, I don't even remember how long now. It's been over 10 years. Yeah. And so it allows me to share all that knowledge. Every single year, things change. It's the exciting part of a president being able to kind of morph things a little bit their own way. So it's just this consistent growth and change. And then obviously at the national level, they make their changes there too. So it's just this evolution of things. And so I love being able to share the knowledge of what used to happen, what happens now, how maybe we can improve those things. So I love being able to share all of that knowledge because it does take up a lot of space in my brain. So if I can share that with somebody else and another person can learn and step up and do those things, I think that's really, really important. So
when we were talking before this,
so the bottom line is you're so excited to delegate that job.
I have slowly been delegating so many things over the years. I can just get the website off my hands, but step by step, and it's more for the fact of, I think what's great with Women's Council is allowing people to jump into roles and take it as far as they want to and build themselves as leaders and really create their own path. And I just don't want to hog my space. Somebody wants to come in and wants to be able to do that. I love the fact that they want to do that. And we have so many newer people on the board this year that I think there's so much that they can do.
Yes, I'm glad that leaders make hear. When we were discussing your guys' core values as a company, and we were talking about radical integrity, 100% ownership, and I was like, that's why I get along with Katrina so well. It's like because I can say, hey, I messed up, can you help me fix it? And how can I do better next time? And you love that I will own my bullshit.
Well, and that's the biggest thing. If you just own it, and how do we not have it happen again? How do we fix it? And I think that's also how we all grow individually. Because if you can't admit that something went wrong.
I would define a relationship as prior to there being an issue, prior to somebody messing up, you're honeymooning. It's like first date material.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
When somebody messes up, how do they deal with it? Do they own it? Do they lean into it? Do they take accountability? Or is it a scarecrow situation?
Right, everyone else did it.
And all of a sudden you can't get them on the phone, And so that's like, it's interesting because, we have always decided to just, not, to just own everything that we possibly can own and allow, insults and, people being upset to just kind of like roll off our back and not feed into it at all. Because in this industry, it happens.
It does.
It happens. And so what the best results are is when, you fast forward a couple months, a couple weeks, a year, or whatever the case, and that individual is coming back and says, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just got caught up in the transaction.
Caught up in that moment.
And so then full circle, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now we're in a relationship, right? Like we closed the circuit here, and this is how it's supposed to be. Let's do it from the beginning next time, right?
Yes.
So
have the cooling off period, and we're good.
Well, thank you guys so much for your time today, and thank you for your continued support of Women's Council of Realtors West Michigan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are a network of successful realtors advancing women as business leaders in the industry and the communities we serve.